the goal with Refine is to not just only be a branding agency.
No.
Like, it's to help other women in business grow. And we have to remember that's the mission. We're your hosts, Sahara Embry
and Michaela Bedoyan. From working corporate 9-to-5s to running $1 million companies,
we're bringing you the inside scoop of what it takes to start and scale your business.
We're keeping things real, raw, and unfiltered. This is the
Rise and Refine podcast. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Welcome back to the Rise and Refine podcast, y'all.
Yay.
We have been in the thick of it the last couple of weeks with client work and kind of refining a lot of different parts of our business.
Yeah.
Not just refined, but Crew Realty, Embry Group,
Lots of
expanding
things
into
going
Nashville.
on.
Like, there's so much happening.
Yes. Since we last filmed, Nashville wasn't on the table.
Yeah. And it's so funny because if you listen back to one of our previous episodes,
I was like, I'm not going to do it.
I'm not going to do Nashville. I said, no, you'd be so proud of me.
Actually, we cut it out.
Oh, did we? Oh, okay.
Yeah, we cut it out.
That's hilarious.
I was like, I'm not going to do it now. But then things changed. And so then we launched Crew Realty in Nashville. Anyways, a lot has happened, but in the best ways, as always. So
yes.
Do you want to talk about wedding things again?
Oh, gosh. No, we're not going to talk about wedding stuff this episode because I feel like there's not a lot to update y'all on. But today we're actually going to be diving into some topics about what we wish we knew before launching a service-based business.
Yes.
And there's quite a few lessons in here that we've had to learn the hard way. So hopefully you'll be able to learn from us. But
yes, we're like, these are the things we're telling you if you just launched a service-based business. Go ahead and start on these things. Learn from us because we didn't and we wish we would have. And so, let's dive deep into what we wish we would have done.
If we started today, we would be taking on fewer clients, charge more, and create products sooner. That is the exact playbook of what we would have done. Those are the three main topics that we're going to be touching on because truly we just started with the idea of building something for businesses,
of doing branding and web design. Well, originally it was just branding.
And
then
it was just for real estate.
It was just for real estate. Then we added on web design, but it was all service-based, which real estate is, I'm used to service-based businesses. However, this is a little different. We'll touch on why.
Yeah.
But it was just branding. Then it was web design. And now almost 3 years, it'll be 3 years next year. We still don't have any products.
Still don't have any products.
That's the reality of life.
We are technically at just like 2 years and 2 months. And so we've got 10 months to create a whole slew of products.
That makes me feel better.
That's what I'm looking at. And that's how I have to see it.
Not too late, right? Never too late.
Not too late. So that is what we are going to be talking about today. And the first, we're just going to dive in. Fewer clients can equal bigger results.
Yeah.
And, at the very beginning, we didn't really set a client cap per month of what we would be willing to take on.
I think we just took on whoever.
We
right?
did.
We just kept taking on people. When's your start date? We'll start you then.
Yes.
No plan.
What's your budget? Oh, yeah, we can work you in.
We can do that.
And we bent every single boundary that we thought we had set for us in Refined. And that ultimately led to burnout or borderline burnout really, really quickly.
Yeah.
Was not valuing ourselves at our worth. We were taking on whoever, whenever. There was never a moment where we said no to somebody when we definitely should have. So there was a lot of times where we were bending over backwards for this client, but we weren't getting paid for the hours that we were trying to make it work for them. And so definitely setting that client cap per month was something that we implemented like 6 months after we started Refine. So around that January, February timeframe. And we started around 3 to 4 active builds at a time.
Well, we didn't have people start on the same date either, which was really huge and kind of spread things out a little bit more. And that's not something we did in the beginning. We didn't estimate how many projects we wanted. We just, it was newer. We took everything we could get and we adjusted what we did per each person versus saying, here's what we offer. Take it or leave it. This is what we do. And
so, we created packages. We set those start dates, and when they were filled, they were filled. That was it. That start date was done. And then we set the boundary of like, okay, this is when our next start date is available.
Yeah.
And so that was probably the biggest thing that we did was fewer clients does actually equal bigger results 100%. In the grand scheme of things.
If your prices are there too. which we had to adjust our prices over time to where we could take fewer clients. It depends on where your pricing is at, but more clients doesn't equal, more success. And we talked about that last episode. You have to scale when you're ready. However, it made such a huge difference.
It does. And one thing that we are trying to actively get better at as well, and this is something that you can do very early on in your business and you can continue to grow it as you grow your business, but that's under promising and then over delivering.
Yeah.
When I was working with May Media, she is a social media manager. So sweet, Sammy Anderson. She was in awe of our process and she had no idea what it was going to be like when she first started with us. She knew a little bit about it, what we had told her, walking through the discovery call, the inquiry, the initial conversation. But once she got into the thick of it, she's like, oh my gosh. And she got all of her brand assets. She's like, this is so much more than I anticipated. This is awesome. Yeah, it was really great feedback.
She never told me that.
Yeah. So it was really great feedback, but that was something that I've consistently tried to grow as we continue to grow and refine, as we take on higher profile clients, a higher target market or a higher price point client.
Let them know the value that's behind everything. It's not just branding, but all the small details.
All the small details, because there's certain times where I'm like, oh, we don't need to share all of the details behind the scenes, but that's ultimately what is going to take a looker to a converter of an actual real-time lead.
Well, this is about what we did wrong, and so why I put this one on here too.
I know, I'm just going all over the place.
You're like, actually, we're great. Here's why. No, that's what we do now. But where I actually took this and something we recently talked about, and we appreciated somebody calling us out on it, was I felt like we were over-promising on communication. And web builds.
Yes.
And I feel like we were under delivering only because of the lack of communication. We talked about that. That's something we did wrong, is make sure your clients fully know your process, fully know timeline, fully know, just communicate more. It always helps. And that's something I wish we would have gotten better at sooner. Yeah. Is communication. So that's where I came up with that one. What we did wrong.
Yes. No. And communication, that's definitely something that I'm still actively having to work on, because with that particular client, that's where we implemented a weekly end of the week kind of recap on Fridays, where I send them, even if we haven't been specifically working on their project, a whole lot has happened. Maybe we're still waiting on some deliverables from them. Being able to actively give them a weekly update, letting them know where we're at in their project, what we still need from them. It's just that extra touch point of letting them know, hey, we see you. We haven't forgot about you, and just keeping that up to date.
Yeah. In the design world, sometimes things can be quiet because the designer is working on the web build behind the scenes, and a lot of small details that the business owner, whoever hired them, they don't really understand what goes into it.
No.
So we just think, oh, well, we know. So surely they know we're working on it. We have a lot of projects. They know we're busy.
Yeah.
But in reality, even if things are quiet, they still deserve communication for that week. And that's where we do that communication from the very beginning. Make sure you put it at the forefront of something that's super important for your business.
Super important. Yeah. And that's just, in general, in life, I feel like I am trying to just get better at the communication piece. I am so much better in person. Yeah. Casey and I specifically, when we're on trips, we don't do a whole lot of phone calls. It's we have to be able to be in person, having those conversations. I feel like we always have deeper conversations where we're in person. And so for me, I've had to learn, okay, when I see a text, respond to the text. Don't just let it all pile up. When I see the email, make sure that, in the 15 minutes at the start of my day and at the end of my day, I'm actually taking that time and responding to these emails. And so that's something that I've just had to learn to get better at. And then the second one is creating products sooner. At the very beginning of Refined, we had all of these great product ideas, but we really didn't have any of the experience or the following to be able to back it up in a certain way. And you don't need followers to sell, but we were starting at literally zero, like a big old goose egg on Instagram specifically. Yeah. And so
our goal was to make money, start making money.
Right.
And that doesn't come with selling a product to no followers.
No followers.
So we didn't really think to do it.
No. So we were focusing on building a client base, building a pipeline, and then growing an audience. And so that's exactly what we did. And we got so caught up in that. I feel like over the last couple of years that all of the products that we've wanted to launch, or even Some are halfway done and are just sitting there, but we just have to set the time aside and actually work in our business.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing and lesson that we're trying to learn too is we're both perfectionists.
She's talking about me here.
Yeah, I am too, but I've gotten way better. And we've talked about this plenty of episodes. But the thing with the product that we want to give so much value and do it in the best way, because we both bought products and we're like,
it wasn't worth it.
No, it wasn't. And so we don't want to be those people. But at the same time, like, we need to stop overthinking it and trying to be like these perfectionists. And like, we have a lot of value to give people and a lot to offer. And we want to share our playbooks and what we do and help people grow. So we need to stop being perfectionists and just get products out there. And if something doesn't hit, that's okay. Then you go to the next one, or something needs adjusted. That's okay. You learn, like season 1 of the podcast, completely different than the way it works now. We have got to get something out there and just start with that.
Exactly. And Sarah keeps telling me this, but 80% is better than not doing it at all. And so that's what I've had in the back of my head, but turning those repeat deliverables into actual tangible products, whether that's a physical product, whether that's a PDF download, whether that's a masterclass that you pre-record and get sent out, whatever it might be for you and your business, templates, brand kits, whatever it might be, whatever works best for you. And you know that you already have all of the meat and potatoes there. Now you just have to put a pretty little bow on it.
Yeah, 100%. And we wish we would have built products sooner, because you can only scale a service-based business so fast.
Yeah.
Right? Especially when she's doing all the client work in terms of branding and design and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, so you can only scale so fast. And the goal with Refined is to not just only be a branding agency.
No.
Like, it's to help other women in business grow. And we have to remember that's the mission. And we need to get out of doing so much client work and build what we're trying to build. But we just get wrapped up into all this client work constantly.
And the client work is not going away. That is truly the bread and butter of Refined. That is my passion, is working with these small businesses and helping them create a brand and that they love, a business that they love, that feels like genuinely them. It's their family's legacy. And being able to put that out into the world, and they're proud and confident in it. However, the larger mission is to be able to help and reach and grow and scale with so many other business owners, specifically women, because that's our main target audience, right? That doesn't exclude the guys, but that's just who is most attracted to us and Refined in general.
But okay, let's talk about products, because I actually wrote down 3 things. If you were to build products sooner, 3 things I wish, which we need to do these things.
Yeah.
But 3 things when it comes to building products to make sure you do. One of those is building a product ladder. So like having that checklist with the service, and then whatever mastermind or brand kit, whatever that is you're going to offer. But talk about it, have a free checklist, like initiate some of these automations when you're building the product. Don't just build the product, launch it, and expect people to get it. Like, tease people with it, like offer free checklists, like talk to people about it coming up.
Show
like do
the
these
behind the scenes of actually building the product. I feel like that is
what
the most influential and best performing, I feel like, influencers or business owners out there right now, they're selling out launches because they are building rapport around something that isn't even launched yet.
And they're
have showing the behind the scenes. They have a wait list. They have freebies associated with it to help build anticipation. And so that when that thing actually launches, there's so much support behind it. They're like, oh my gosh, I have to get my hands on that. Or they offer an incentive of like the first 20 people to enter X, Y, and Z gets this extra coaching time with me, or this extra whatever. And it's creating an entire community around this thing. And it's going to sell itself in the end.
Yeah, 100%. If it's something and we people want to add value. We wish we would have done that. So now we can kind of, and I kind of wrote this because I thought it was a cool topic to talk about. 1, because we didn't do these things, but 2, we're about to be in the bulk of doing some of these things. So I was like, we can kind of use it as like our brainstorming and talk some of these things out as we record it, because it is important.
And I mean, we've done some, like we have wait lists for certain things that we are going to be launching. We have built anticipation. I know. We have built anticipation, and then it's like, whoo, we haven't stayed consistent in it. And
we're supposed to launch, like, let's be real. We were supposed to launch in March of this year.
Yes.
And it's now the almost end of August, and we definitely won't be launching anytime soon.
No.
So it's kind of like, oops.
It's like oops, but also, okay, learning experience, like what actually it takes to build something, like what we're truly trying to build, the time investment involved in it, what we're trying to build. We cannot do it alone. Like I can't be in Atlanta and Sahara can't be in Huntsville.
Yeah.
There's certain segments of it where I have to make the time to come to Huntsville in order to get certain things with it done. Because Sahara is based in Huntsville. All of her businesses are in Huntsville. Her kid is in Huntsville. So I'm going to be traveling while I don't have.
Me. And then it'll probably switch. Maeve will be almost 10 and we'll probably be going to McAllen.
Right.
But that'll be fun for me and Maeve. But I get what you're saying. We need to be together for this.
Yes.
Maybe what we need to do is just say, okay, you're here. You're stuck with me for a week.
Yeah.
Well, let's knock it out.
Let's do like
everything. Yeah. Pictures, behind the scenes. Let's knock it out. Build it. We both set a time, a whole week, and that's like no client work, nothing, no crew, no distractions. Because the problem is getting our schedules together to actually build this together. Yeah. And also handle client work and everything else.
Yeah. We're just sharing all of this with you so that you can kind of get an inside glimmer of things that we're actively still trying to figure out. So take this all with a grain of salt, but also learn from us. If any of this is like, oh shoot, I'm doing that, maybe I should, reflect and maybe think of it this way. Do what you need to do, but definitely with products, creating those products sooner, and pre-selling with that wait list, founding price to validate before building. Yeah. Like offer some sort of incentive. That is something that we did with the course that we're trying to launch, is offering an incentive to get one-on-one feedback from us afterwards. Yeah. And again, we were just in the waitlist phase when we were teasing this. That's when we got the most amount of hype, the most amount of DMs, messages, even comments of just like, oh my gosh, I'd love like a spot like that. I would love to be able to have this one-on-one. And then it spread of like, okay, do we do mentorships? Do we do one-on-ones? Like, what does this all look like for us? Yeah. And so, yeah, that's kind of where we're at with the product side of things.
Yeah. And who's to say we may roll this out? I mean, knock on wood, and nobody get it and it be a bust. But I've been listening to like a lot of product-based podcasts.
Same.
And it's like sometimes you have to launch 5 in order to finally have that winner. But and we're not doing it just to launch a product. Like I feel like so many people launch just because they're told. We're doing it because like both of us have built businesses and been so involved. We just want to teach this to others. Like truly, that is our passion behind Refine, like helping women create businesses they feel proud of and that are sustainable and not just a side hobby. And so we know what we want to put into it and what we want to get back. And, that's just going to take time, but we need to get it done.
So that's on creating products sooner. And then the third is raising your prices and knowing who your target client is. Yeah. Because at the very beginning, like we said, we were just kind of willy-nilly accepting everybody, changing our prices based off of what the client needed. We didn't have set packages, and it was a mess because I never knew what deliverables were for who. We had a CRM, but I was still so new in what owning a business actually looked like. I was still trying to figure out all the bits and bobs of like taxes, knowing what to put away for taxes, and knowing how to adjust my schedule because I didn't have a set corporate schedule anymore. Yeah. So there were all these like employee to business mindset shifts that I was making on top of not having processes set in place for Refine. It was a nightmare on my end.
We just didn't know too, like, were we targeting the person who's just starting their business? Are we targeting the person who already has a brand and they're ready to go fully custom? And we kind of spent the first year learning who that is. I think now we've got it down. Like it's definitely not the new business owner. No. It's definitely someone who's been in business. They start at one place with the logo. They typically just pay
know where they're going.
Done. Yeah. And now they want a full brand identity and custom kit. So now we know who our target audiences specifically for branding and web design. We didn't know that in the beginning. We had to work with a bunch of different clients to figure it out. And I think that's when we adjusted our prices and our marketing, when we figured out who that client was.
Yeah. But to go in on all of that, during that first 6 months, it was a nightmare because we weren't only trying to figure out who our client was, but on social media, we didn't know really what our message was. We were still trying to figure out the whole messaging side of us, how we were to present ourselves. I was still getting comfortable being on camera, on stories. And so there was just a lot of business learning that was taking place. And so on top of not having set processes, on top of bending our deliverables, our pricing, it was the perfect storm, we should say. So that was definitely something. Do not adjust your prices for one specific client. Now there's going to be custom packages that you create, and those are very specific instances, at least for us.
More of like adding on to what you already have.
Yes, but you should always have a base and a base price and a base set of deliverables. So make sure that your package includes clear inclusions, rounds of revisions, and change order fees. If you have to pause your project, that person's project based off of maybe a lack of communication on their end or delay in deliverables being sent over to you, is there a pause fee associated with that? Make sure that you are always sending your client contracts. We do a 50% deposit, and it's non-refundable for a project. So once somebody signs with us, they are sent over a 50% deposit invoice. And that is, one, to secure their spot, 2, to show us that they're seriously interested in working with us. But then 3, it gives them a little bit of leg in the game, and holds them a little bit more accountable because 100%. They've already made the investment when their start date comes around.
Yes. The next is market less, convert more. And what that talks about really is not just put out marketing to put out marketing, but actually think about conversion.
So like just sending emails to send emails, or like posting to post.
Yeah, but in the beginning, we didn't even think about creating an email list. Really.
No, we didn't
focus on it. So that's something I wish we would have done. So day one, have an email list. I don't care if you have one follower. Talk about your email list day one. It is very important to build your own database. And that's something we should have focused on in the very beginning. Because
you own that email list. Like it cannot be taken away from you. You know, social media can go away in an instant. And without that, how many people are actually in tune to your business outside of your friends and your personal sphere of influence? So that email list is something, it is an asset for you and your business. It's not going anywhere.
No, it's not. So it's really, really important to make sure you do that. And the second thing is, I feel like we've gone so all over the place with posting, but don't post to post. Like in the beginning, I felt like we were like, okay, we got to post 5 days a week. We got to do this, this, and this. You have to really think about what you're posting and put more into it. And sometimes less is more with posting. And it's different on each platform. TikTok, it's about posting to post. Consistency, right? But with Instagram, it's like, okay, take a little bit more time. Make sure you post and you stay consistent.
It's more curated. It's more intentional on Instagram.
Thoughtful. So make sure.
And you've probably noticed a change in our posting consistency on Refined if you follow us on Refined. And that is simply because of the bandwidth of projects right now. And so that's why we're looking at outsourcing to a social media manager of some sort, helping with the video editing, helping with that side of things with Refined, because it's just gotten to the point where my capacity is tapped. And so understanding that too, if it gets to that point, then you have to kind of take the reins, and it's okay to pivot. It's okay that you might have a slower season on Instagram. It's okay.
Don't put pressure on yourself.
Yeah. Don't put pressure on yourself just to get something out, out.
The other thing too that I said with the market less, convert more, is be better at talking about the same message. Don't constantly every day talk about something different. Like I've told Michaela this over and over. It's like our mini package is our best package. People love it. And it's something that we really didn't talk a lot about. We kind of talked about just branding and web design. And then we've started recently talking more about packages, but we should have been repeating that specific package more and more. And we've gotten better at it. But know what your message is, say it over and over, and eventually somebody, even if they've heard it 10 times, the 11th time they may be like, oh, cool, dang.
It clicks for them. And something else with social media too is and not just social media, but creating content in general, there's so many ways that you can repurpose your content. If you create one video, you can turn that into an email newsletter. You can turn that into multiple smaller reels. You can have a big YouTube video if that's something that you shoot. You can turn that into informational carousel posts off of different points that you created and create a mini series off of that one piece of content. So understand
you can take that video and create a blog.
Yes, exactly. So there's so many different ways to repurpose content. And so what I'm trying to think through now with us for Refine, and this is something I haven't been the best at, and so that's why we're kind of tweaking our social media strategy in general, but is making sure that any content that we put out, it is super intentional and it can be repurposed in multiple different ways. It doesn't have to just be pigeonholed onto Instagram. If we wanted to take that video one day and create a Refine TikTok, we can pull it off, put that on TikTok, and it still has, a great effect.
Yeah.
The message isn't stripped. There's nothing, it's still an educational resource. And so just make sure that whenever you're creating that content, it's actually intentional. It can be used in many different ways.
100% repurpose content. All right. And then these are like to wrap it up, but add a couple more things that I felt like were still relevant of what we wish we did sooner, but like they don't require a lot of talking points, but it's still what I wish. We obviously just talked about this. So just to wrap it up, fewer clients, higher prices. It makes a difference. Go ahead, choose one product to start with, get it out there if you're a service-based business. Email list, nurture it weekly. And then I put on here the set the client cap.
Yeah.
Don't just take on everyone, figure out how many clients you can handle and set that cap. Meeting free days.
Yes.
That was important to you. Why do you wish you would have done that sooner?
Yeah. Meeting free days. So Mondays and Fridays are my non-forward facing days. So I don't typically get on stories. I won't take any meetings during that day. I will typically, if I need to run errands for myself, those are the days that I'm doing it. I'm doing client work. I'm really focusing in on behind the scenes for Refined, working in our business. And those days were necessary because when I go into a design hole, I'm in it for the day. And so it's really hard for me to go in every single day, say like I have 2 hours of focus work and then I have a meeting and then I have a 30-minute break and then I have a meeting. But that happens every single day. I needed the time to just be present in the work, set aside that day, not have any sort of extra distractions. And it dramatically helped just my mental health, but also clearing up my schedule because I was scattering my schedule and filling it with so many unnecessary tasks that I was able to clean up on those Mondays and Fridays. And so now my forward facing days, which are Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, where I get on stories, you probably see that if you follow Refined, I have all my meetings. I typically keep those in the afternoon. So that way in the mornings, on those Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, I can still have a deep work focus, but I have the afternoons open for any meeting types. So it's just really helped me kind of set boundaries, clear up my calendar, refrain from filling it with all those unnecessary tasks that could be moved around on any which day, and prioritize Mondays and Fridays.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference.
It does.
And then the last one to do this sooner, I put being booked and broke, because I feel like you can be really, really booked, but if you don't make sure that you set communications with client process and pausing projects and making sure people communicate back, you can almost not end up taking on new projects because you're so booked up, but it's just projects you've been working on. Now you don't have incoming money. So this is something I feel like we're still working on now, but it's making sure that you are booked at a steady pace. And you wrap up projects when they need to be wrapped. If someone's not communicating, you put them on pause so you're ready to begin in again if it's on them. And you set clearer expectations and keep things moving in a more steady pace than being up and down constantly.
Yeah. And, setting projects on pause, that's something that I'm so uncomfortable with, but we've had to get comfortable just because we've had a few that they didn't book a client or they didn't book a brand photo shoot until 2 weeks after we needed the photos. And so it obviously takes 4 to 6 weeks for those photos to, be edited and delivered back to you. And so we were putting projects on pause that were supposed to be wrapped up in May. We're finishing in September. And it's just because we didn't get those deliverables in time from our client. And so now we're having to put those projects on pause for months.
And then we didn't start people because we were booked with those projects. It just all turns into chaos.
Yeah,
so you got to be better at setting those and pausing people.
Yeah.
All right. But those are things that we wish we would have done sooner.
Hope you guys learned from us. Yeah, there's definitely a lot more, but hope you guys can learn from us in those ways. And I mean, this is just us being super raw and transparent with you guys in this episode. This is kind of like the unfiltered, unpretty side of Refined and us as people, because we're still working on so many things as business owners and just trying to navigate it all amidst both living very busy personal lives as well. So if you guys like this episode, please like and subscribe to us. You can find us on Apple, Spotify podcasts, or you can watch us here on YouTube. You can follow us at Rise and Refine Podcast on Instagram and on TikTok. And if you want to check out the brand and web design side of our studio, you can find us on Instagram at refinemarketing_.
Yes. And then next week we have what happened to our business, my business, her business when we stopped focusing on followers. And I'm excited to talk about that, because I feel like so many people are focused on how many followers they have. And we want to talk about what happened when we stopped thinking about that number. So that's next week. We're excited.
Very excited, but we hope you guys have a lovely week and happy Monday.
See you next Monday.